issues that you need to work on? Somebody? Somebody's got victory in Jesus and has it all together. You named it, claimed it right. Nobody? Well, I always ask this because somebody will raise their hand and I say, we want you to stand up so everybody else can see what denial looks like. Right? So, here's why I'm starting with that. I don't want us to be in denial. I don't want us to be in denial as we work with people of what the number one factor is to change. But not only about the people we work with, but about us. You know, Jesus said that we love because he first loved us. And a lot of times the work you're doing, it is so draining. And you've got to come from a grounded position yourself. So I'm going to share a little something with you this morning that I hope you find as a tool that you can use for yourself and your clients. And it comes from my book called The Power of the Other. And what I mean by the other is the other person in a relationship. And let's hop into seeing how that works. I grew up with sisters that were way older than me. And they were bigger and stronger. And they used to beat me up and, you know, abuse me. And that's why I became a psychologist, actually. No. And I always wanted an older brother. I prayed for an older brother, which is a stupid prayer, right? Because you're already there. But I would pray, and I just, God, give me a brother to beat these girls up. And he never came until I got my brother. My brother-in-law, Mark. Sorry. I got a brother-in-law, his name was Mark, and I won the lottery. Because Mark was a Navy SEAL. Now, don't pray in a wimpy brother-in-law if you need one, right? And Mark was amazing. I mean, these guys, have you ever known any SEALs? You come back from deployment, and I'd say, tell me a Mark story. And he goes, well, we were up at 40,000 feet and in our scuba gear and went through the oxygen level and then landed in the cold ocean and went to the bottom and took a nap. We had been up all time. Then we changed garb and then we went, 6 of us, boarded one of Saddam's oil ships and took it down and turned it around, took it to the UN, then we had breakfast. These guys are unbelievable. And Mark was an incredible father, husband, brother. Sorry, I did not know this is still is alive this morning. But we lost him. He was killed in Iraq. And the week that Mark died, you know, SEALs, they know the power of the other. They know the power of relationship. Everything they do is in relationship. And they don't call you and tell you that you've lost someone. They show up at the door at 4 a.m. So that week, we walked through the week with the SEALs, actually. Our family was grieving. It was awful. It was just a horrible blow. But at night, I'd sit around with the SEALs sometimes and tell Mark stories. And we're telling all these stories. And a guy there named Bryce, who was Mark's buddy in training, and they go through this thing called Hell Week. And Hell Week is, you know, they've already taken the thousands and thousands and thousands that want to become SEALs and narrow them down, the best specimens in the world. And they get it down to about 200. And they take them off the coast of San Diego, and they basically try to kill them. Literally, they take 200 guys, and they go through Hell Week. They don't sleep all week. I think they get 3 minutes sleep twice during the week. They put them out there in hypothermia situations. You have to swim, 50, 60, 100 gazillion miles, I don't know how many, dragging barges, and they just try to tear them down. And throughout the week, the SEALs hit a limit gradually, or the applicants hit a limit, and they do something called ring the bell, and that means I'm out. I can't go anymore. And at the end of that week, about 25 are left standing, and those become SEALs. And Bryce said that he and Mark were buddies in the training, and that it was the last swim, and Mark had been in front of him, and Mark made it to the shore. And Bryce said, I'm swimming, and if I make this last swim, I've made it. And I'm going along, I've got about 50 yards left, 100 yards left, and he said, my body just stopped, it wouldn't go anymore. I couldn't will it, didn't matter how much I wanted, it would not move, and the pain was all throughout my body wouldn't move. You've probably experienced that. Have you ever been to the gym? I went once, and if you lift any weight long enough, you can get to a place you're done. And see, Bryce had hit his limit, and he said, I was going down. I couldn't move, and I'm going down. And he said, I know I got to call for help. I know it's over. I didn't make it. And he said, I looked up, and I saw Mark on the shore. And I'm going down, I looked up, and he said, our eyes met when I'm going down, and Mark goes, go! And he said, I don't know how to explain it. But when our eyes met and he told me to go, my body got out of the water and made it to the shore. Now, what is that? What is that? There was no wire hooking them up. There was no shot of adrenaline. But there was the most powerful shot that exists in all of existence. And that is the power of relationship and the power of connection. And it's not physical, even though it affects the physical. It's metaphysical. And God made us that way. But oftentimes, you and I, in our work, and all of the people that we try to help, oftentimes, we're not in that connection in a way that fuels us. We're not in that connection in a way that changes us. And the thing to remember about this morning is this: there is no change without relationship. There is no growth without relationship. It's just the same machine doing something different. Now you know this, right? How many of you ladies have had babies? Wow. How many of you, right when you had that baby, that infant turned and looked at you and said, oh, I'm sorry, Mom, was that hard on you? Here, let me straighten up around here. You go get a massage, I'll see you later. No, they didn't do that, right? What did they do? They turned at you and they went, wee, 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 wee. Like that. And you know why? They were separated from connection. They found themselves alienated as a human being from other humans, and that's what it feels like. But then something happened. You started to connect with that infant, and we have something called attachment. And what is an attachment? It's when two things come together, and they get connected. And what happened through that attachment? After the physical one had been cut, remember, the cord had been cut. Now we're talking about Mark and Bryce. Now we're talking about humans that have a connection without the cord. And in that connection, what happened? You held them, they invested in you, they brought their needs to you, and they internalized. There was a download, regulatory functions, impulse control, new wiring of stuff that could later have more synapses. Internalized love, internalized structure throughout their life, all the way until they become geriatrics. And if they have a heart attack, and we put them in a support group with the same medical care as a heart attack, or we put somebody else with just the medical care and no connection, talking about the illness. This group has the second, third, fourth heart attack and stroke, and this one doesn't. Because the power of the others, the power of connection is how God made us. So you're kind of like a cell phone, and your patients are kind of like cell phones. How many of you flew here? All right. When you landed, what's the first thing you did? Turned on your phone, unless you're male and you did it right before you landed. You turned it on, and up in the top left corner, what did it say? Searching. Searching for connection. Every time somebody comes to see you, they are a cell phone, probably in flight, because they have the capacities to run the programs that are already on them and sound like the sound in the emails that are already on them, and even have emails from some people that you wouldn't want them to have people in their life like that, still on that phone. See, they're this closed system, and what happens? They show up to you, and your job is to turn on that button where they get to the real part of life, which is the searching for connection. And it's our job too. Problem is, a lot of times we don't even know where we are. If you go and have coffee with a friend, what do you do a lot of times? You sit down and what's the first question? Or you might say this to clients. First question, they sit down and you say what? So where are you? Well, I'm in the restaurant with you, idiot. That's not what you're meaning, right? You know where they are physically, but where are they inside? Because that cell phone, once it connects, its insides begin to change because it's downloading new updates from the network. It's downloading writing of code that does away with the viruses, and it's pulling the viruses out. Because that's what relationship does for us. So I want to leave you with a little tool this morning that I found helpful in working with people. And it's kind of like a Navy SEAL does. In the SEAL, Mark would tell me when they would land. So, if you're landing, you're parachuting in beside, and you're going to land on Osama bin Laden's roof, then you kind of want to make sure you know exactly where you are, right? Well, what they do is, every time they land, the first thing they do is they look at their GPS and they answer 3 questions. The first question is this: where am I? Because if I'm on the wrong side of the fence, I'm going to get killed. Second question is, where's the enemy? And the third question is, where's my buddy? And they always say, if I can answer the third question, I'll get the answer to the first 2. It's relationship. But we don't know really a lot of times where we are in that connection. And what I want to leave you with, I'm going to give you a little tool. And I've used this in a gazillion situations, and I found it really, really helpful for clients as well. And the way I like to refer to it is this: the 4 corners of the universe. And here's what it means. Every single moment of someone's existence, they are somewhere. When you sit in the restaurant and you say, where are you? That person's immaterial being, their soul, their spirit, all the stuff that's not in the hardware, it's somewhere. So what I've like to think about is, if we draw a map up here of the whole universe, these are all the possible spaces that person can be at that moment, or the next day, or that night. And I think there's 4 corners. Let's do it like this. 3, 4. All right? The first place you can be, and some of you can identify with this, you felt it at times, you feel it at times. The first corner is the corner of no connection. And you've seen it on your phone. No connection, no service, no something. And see, this is where the human organism comes into the world. Because we're searching, we're always searching. I don't care how detached, the most detached alpha male genius is that you work with. I don't care how detached they are. Inside, there's a chip that's searching. It's calling out all the time. And when people live in corner one, there are symptoms, right? There's depression and fear and panic, loss of hope. It's a dark place. And if it's not really dark, it gets on the amped up side, and it's a chaotic, panicky place, terror. And you know, people can't live here very long, so what do? They go looking for love. And they wander over here in corner number 2, and we're going to call that the bad connection. Now, bad connection doesn't have to necessarily be abusive, but here is the essence of a bad connection, and it's what the scripture tells us, that a bad connection is a relationship within which you feel bad. You feel not good enough. You feel rejectable, abandonable. I'll never measure up. All of that stuff. And see, people go and they connect with people, usually in the first outing or two, and what do? They connect with people and they feel like they're not good enough. Or they connect with people that actually make them feel that way. You know, that is a beautiful dress. Didn't they have it in your size? Even in their compliments. You're not performing well in some way. It's like the Jewish mother that comes to breakfast with her 35-year-old son who lives on the couch. And she says, I hope my crying didn't keep you up last night. I can't say that because I got it from a Jewish comedian. See, even in the love relationships, there's some way there's guilt and shame, and you're not living up to some expectation. And people gravitate towards this to where every time I'm in this relationship, I feel not so good about myself, and I feel guilty. And there's a lot of condemnation over here. And what do people do a lot of times with God? I'm alone in the universe. I think I'll go to church, and they go to a corner 2 church. And they feel bad, and what do? They unplug. And they say, I can't take that anymore, and they stay away for another 5 years. It's like my neighbor said, I invited her to church. She said, I can't go to church. And I said, why? She said, I can't handle the guilt. A lot of people, that's their connection to God. And that's their connection to their mothers or their fathers or their bosses or their spouses. Somehow, extended family, somehow, I'm not good enough for this person, and I feel bad. So we can't handle that forever. So what do? Then we run down to corner number 3. I'm going to call that the pseudo-good connection. See, at some point, somebody says, I'm miserable here, I'm miserable here. I need something that's going to make me feel good. And so we run down to corner 3, something that makes me feel good. And we connect with it, and it makes me feel good. But it's pseudo-good. Because it's like a sugar high, it's not a nutrient. Porn addiction. Achievement. One more attaboy. Food. Substances. See, anything that medicates me is what we're talking here. We're talking about the ways that humans self-medicate by seeking others that make them just feel good. Flattery. Buying a new car. Making my Instagram image perfect. Something that makes me feel good. The problem is, it does for a minute. One more sexual encounter for the addict is going to feel good for a minute. But then the need's going to come again. Because sugar doesn't fill the food groups. So what do? Well, we go act out in some way and run back up to corner 2. Oh God, I feel bad, I feel bad, I feel bad. We go into this guilt and shame, and then that doesn't feel good. And then tired of feeling bad with God, so you go disconnect. Or you're at the office, one of your patients at the office, and somebody looks at them crooked, and they go in their cubicle and they spend the rest of the day obsessing. Or thinking about how they're failing. Or they take a quick run out down the street and get 14 large pizzas. And this is where we live. See, this is the story of the Bible, and it's the story of all psychological research. The story of the Bible is that God made us for corner 4, which is real connection. But what happened was we fell into disconnectedness. And then we tried to solve that problem on our own. And then he says, well, you didn't want me, I'll give you religion, I'll give you the law. And what does the law do? It tells you, like he said, I told you you couldn't do it. I told you you weren't good enough. That's what the law says. And we're attracted to people that live out that law with us until we're not. And then the Bible says that this law, Paul says, the more somebody's under this, it even makes them act out. Romans says it increases the drive to the lust of the flesh and the lust of the eyes and the boastful pride of life, the way we try to medicate ourselves with achievement or money or food or sex or a new iPhone or something. But here's the message of the Bible, and here's the message of all of the DSM categories. Because these are all the diagnoses right up here. But what does the scripture say? He says he didn't come to condemn. He came to seek and to save that which was lost. Seek means to look for, save means to heal, and lost in the Greek means broken beyond repair. That Jesus, every day, every moment, just like those cell towers, is a network that is seeking connection with us to heal us in whatever areas we're broken. And there's so many Axis 1 and Axis 2 problems that come from here and from here and from here. And the Bible's answer, and all psychological research that's ever been done, the answer is, where are you today? You're kind of feeling cut off, aren't you? Well, come home. You're trying to be good enough. Well, come home. You're acting out. Well, come home. Let's go to a meeting where you're okay. Because here's what happens. Until people realize that they're stuck, I'm isolating myself. Even if people are around me, I'm isolating myself. I'm talking to them, but I'm not connected. I'm in a marriage and feel alone, or I'm in a family and feel alone, or I'm in a company, but I feel alone because I'm not connected, because I can't be vulnerable there, or there's no one there to receive it. And the message of the scriptures is to know where we are. You know, God says you got to examine your ways. And am I cut off? And do I need to come down to corner 4 and express my need and take in what God has for me from Him and others? Am I feeling bad and guilty? Oh, one more self-talk's not going to do it. I got to run into the arms of the incarnational grace that God's put into my friends or my counselor. Or am I having another bender? Well, don't go feel bad about it. Come home. So, in closing, I'll say this. My first psychology class, when I changed my major in college and decided I was going to do this, and the guy says, well, all the research is in, it's first class. All the research is in, and what they found is the most powerful change element in all of psychotherapy is the relationship between the client and the therapist. And I said, are you kidding me? I changed my major for that. I mean, I'm in a fraternity. We have relationships, and nobody's getting well. It's got to be more than that. But the scriptures and all the research tell us That it's the relationship that provides the connection, where the downloading of new systems and new patterns and new neuroplastic wirings and new codes, they come from you as the servers. These servers are downloading through the connection all those new ways, and things are changing. So take this little map, give it to your client. Say, this week I want you to tell me how much time you spent in one of the 3 bad corners, and let's find out how you can live there. And look at that in our own lives as well. If you do, I think things will go a lot better. You guys are awesome. And I mean this because, when you're out there on the road, you hear from people, I need some help, where do I get help? And I always know that if you're in the directory in some locale, there's an army out there. Please see how what you do is so vital to communities, that there's a place for people to land when they're hurting. And God bless your work.